Friday, September 22nd. I'm Rem.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, the new hotness from PAX, Dominion.
Let's do this.
Yeah! Yeah! I've been playing a lot of NS.
Really? I played some NS, but then I stopped a little bit.
Like, I was sitting at home, because I was working the night shift for like that whole week, and I was working from home. So over lunch, I couldn't sleep because I was all wired up on caffeine to stay awake over the night. So I'd play like an hour of NS with all the like European people who were playing.
Europeans much better at NS than Americans.
Oh my God, are they so much better? They're so polite and organized. And you think I'm joking? No, I'm dead serious. Like the Marines, like everyone listened to what the commander had to say. Though we had this epic moment where we were supposed to go to waste, the waste hive.
Waste handling.
We're losing the game, but we can take the waste hive, and then we got a good shot. We got a lot of res, like more res than we should have. So he spends all the last res we've got on all these shotguns and jetpacks and everything. And he's like, go to waste, go to waste, go to waste. And like two guys go to waste, and one jackass starts walking toward cargo, and everyone starts following him, just not paying attention. And the team splits up and everybody dies.
Yep.
And basically 10 seconds after this happens, the commander's like,
why didn't you go to waste?
No, he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You've ruined everything. Never mind. He just like leaves the command chair. He's like, fuck it. But I gotta say, that guy, the man formerly known as Alien Commander,
Marine dude,
in every single game I played, like for the last week.
Yeah.
And it's not just him. Everyone is emulating him now. I don't know if suddenly like he's taken off in our culture, but I was playing and some other guy is like, yeah, get him, yeah. And then that guy is like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And the whole Marine team is, yeah, as we rush the hive. I love NS so much.
I'm gonna we're gonna mod NS too. Me and Waters Poison. We decided.
Mod.
We're modding. I'm making because there's the chuckle, right?
Yeah.
And there's the don't see that every day. Thank God. And what's the other one?
There's a few.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna add one that's just like yeah.
See, you gotta actually record that guy.
Of course, I'm gonna call him up.
Man, I didn't talk to him because I was playing the game. But every time after I play, I'm like, man, I should talk to that guy. I want to interview him on the show. Just be like, what's your deal, dude?
Yeah, he's just a cool dude.
No, I believe you mean yeah.
One time I was playing and he was talking about how you have to do LSD once in your life. That's what he was talking about.
Huh.
Anyway.
I kind of agree. I haven't read most of Steppenwolf.
Yeah, I think I'll wait till I'm an old man though. I don't want to take any chance of
I don't know. It
ruining
depends.
the young years.
It depends. Did you finish Steppenwolf yet?
No.
You might want to take the LSD sooner.
I'm about halfway through.
Yeah.
I have to take it to. I won't be able to finish the book without. If you take the LSD and then read the book, the whole thing changes.
It's like the bonus
Actually,
mode.
there's another book that would be a hilarious thing to put in this conversation. Did you read about that the red book in the New York Times?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, then I won't talk about it any further in this show.
The red book, eh?
Yeah, we'll talk about it after the show.
All right. But so, yeah, I've pretty much just been playing NS.
All right. So, I have been playing, and this transfers into the news.
Well. We've been playing other games, but we're saving that for a show that's coming.
We've actually been playing a shit ton of games. There is no doubt it is fucking game season.
Let me put it this way.
Anime season was like, back a few weeks ago. It is now game season.
I'm only playing right now 2 good games, but I'm playing like 11 games.
I've been playing tons of games. It is game season 100%. Sorry, other seasons. You'll come again in a month or two. But it is game season right now. I can't repeat that enough.
I keep getting that quote from Civ 4 in my head. There's a time for every season. And
so the thing is, there is. I didn't find any gaming news as I wanted to talk about. So, but one game I have been playing is the Scribblenauts, which I got yesterday in the mail, and I played it last night and this morning and this afternoon. And there's not really enough in that game to do a whole show about. So I'll do a geek bite on Scribblenauts instead of the news, and then we won't need to talk about it ever again. So the Scribblenauts is very popular and very well known because they did very, 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 very good marketing. They're like, hey, we have a DS game, and it's a puzzle game, and you write something in, and then it appears whatever you write in, and you can type in all sorts of crazy stuff. And they showed that you could bring like Cthulhu and all sorts of weird things, and also all sorts of mundane things. And the idea of a game where you solve puzzles with anything you can think of, that's like totally awesome, right? So everyone was like psyched up for this game. And my initial reaction before playing it was, yeah, you know what this game's gonna be? It's gonna be like really, really all about the novelty of making weird shit appear. And as soon as you've tried a whole bunch of different things that are all funky, you're gonna be bored with this game, and it's gonna have very, very low replay value.
Now, the thing is, I will just note ahead of time that it would have been possible for this to have been a much greater game, irrespective of all that. But it wasn't. They didn't do it.
Well, basically, that's what I expected, right? Was this, short-term novelty. What I got, right, now that I've played it for over, basically a day and change, is I was wrong. It's not a game where novelty runs out, right? There's actually just so many things you can type in that the novelty is really does last a very long time. The problem is that A, the controls are really, really, really bad.
Wait, are they on the level of ass?
They're pretty ass. I'll try, here's an example, right? So there'll be a block of ice. So I make a flamethrower. The flamethrower, I sort of have to get it with the stylus, and it's sort of small, so I give my guy the flamethrower. But my guy is standing in front of another guy. So I accidentally gave the flamethrower to the guy I'm standing in front of. So I have to steal it from him and give it back to my guy. And then, wherever you touch on the screen, your guy walks to where you touched, not in the direction of your touching, right? So it's basically you touch somewhere, and then your guy walks all the way to the spot you touched, which is annoying. So let's say there's a block of ice. I want to melt it. So I'm holding the flamethrower. I tap the block of ice. The guy walks to the block of ice. I'm like, no, I wanted you to shoot the flame at the block of ice. It's like the game doesn't know if you want to walk there, if you want to shoot the flamethrower there. Like I made an iceberg as a bridge once because it's really big, iceberg, and I touched it, and my guy shot the iceberg instead of walking onto the iceberg because it's the same spot. And it's just, you can't get any precision movement, and there'll be levels where you have a good solution and it's going to work, but you just touch the wrong thing, or you can't possibly react quick enough. Like there's a level where there's a dinosaur. So my strategy is go over to the dinosaur until he chases you, run away, then turn around and shoot him, right? The thing is, it's so fast, and the controls are so unresponsive, I can't possibly execute that. So I need to do something else, which is very annoying. Regardless of the bad controls, the real problem with the game, right? I could get past these bad controls because I did manage to control it well enough to get by, just frustratingly, is that objects don't really work the way that they work, right? Is that you can't solve problems with any cleverness, right? That's what I really want from the game, is to be able to solve the puzzles by being clever. But really, all the objects are basically all the same, right? An object either A, moves you, B, moves something else, C, does damage to something, right? It's like all the objects do sort of the same thing. And it doesn't matter whether you choose like rope or chain. They look different, but they do the same thing. Baseball, basketball, football, they all do the same thing. You can throw them. There's no difference whatsoever. And objects don't really have any sort of clever or unique properties. Like there was a tornado, so I made the sun come out, thinking I'll be clever. The tornado will go away if the sun comes out. No, that didn't matter. Well, maybe a gust of wind will cancel the tornado. No. I know, I'll drive a tank through the tornado. A tank is so heavy, a tornado couldn't possibly pick it up. The tank was bigger than the tornado. The tornado just blew the tank away. All right? The way I eventually solved it was I went on the internet and I looked at what people suggested. And one guy suggested riding a cow. So I rode a cow. I got on the cow and I tried to ride it through the tornado. The cow got bounced around, but it just so happened that the weight of the cow was such, and the size of the cow were such that if you just kept going, you'd eventually get over the tornado if you're riding a cow.
Now, that could at least make sense. I mean, if there are like 4 other solutions that are more intuitive.
I think the correct solution actually was to tie a rope to the object on the other side of the tornado, then have the rope get caught in the tornado, and then the object would get flung over to you. That was the solution I saw elsewhere on the internet.
Or you could just make like a shelter or something and then let the tornado go over you.
It doesn't work like that.
Someone said that works just fine.
Really? I tried to do something like that. It didn't really work.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But basically, that's just one example, right? There are many, many other examples I can give. Like there's one annoying level where basically there's a button and there's the object you're trying to get, and there's a spike. So as soon as you hit the button, the object falls in the spike and disappears. So you have to get up there to get the object when the button's hit. So basically, the only solution to this was like I made like a ramp or a slide to get the object to land on that. And it's like I had to position it real careful, like, so that the object would fall the right way. And then it falls down in the water where there's a shark. And it's like I got to kill this. You know, it's, you can't solve, like, I wanted to solve the puzzles and, like, you know, I always tried, like, clever things that sort of make sense, and they never work. The only things that ever work are, like, use a jetpack, use a rope, use a net, use a gun. Those are the things that work, you know? Things that are clever don't work. You know, nothing that makes sense works. Like there was a sheep, so I got an air horn, and I blew the air horn. The sheep didn't, like, start running like I wanted it to. I think that's another problem is the game doesn't let you push or pull things with your character's hands. If I could do that, a lot of the game would make a lot more sense.
Well, I think part of it is that what they were going for is they had the right idea in one regard, that the game would have been completely useless if they didn't have, like, a surprising number of things. Like,
Yep.
the fact that the list is so exhaustive is the selling point.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly all they did was put all their time into, they made, like, a list of parameters, and then they just spent all their time making as many different novel objects as possible fit into those parameters, but the parameters are simple enough to where the majority of objects all function in the same way.
Yeah.
And as a result, they didn't spend much time on the puzzles or really any other part of the game. What bothers me more, this really harkens back to that panel that Alex went to at PAX, where they talked about how pretty much games that have demos don't sell as well.
That wasn't what the panel was about. It was just one point of
But that was the most disturbing point, that they had all this data about, you know, what makes games really sell and all that. And
Yep.
the data shows that if you have a demo, your game will sell far less than if you don't have a demo.
And
if you have a good trailer, your game will sell like crazy. The best way to sell a game is to have a great concept and no demo at all.
Yep.
And I think Scribblenauts is the best example of that. They marketed it up. This game's going to make crazy money, but it's kind of a shit game.
Yeah, I mean, I would not. I'll lend it to you now that I'm. You know, I don't feel like playing.
I mean, I guess it's partly that they literally just put as many objects in as possible, but didn't make the objects distinct enough to where the game was interesting.
Well, think about it. It would. You know, it's not. It wasn't really a monumentive programming task, right? To, you know, just create basically for each object you need like a sprite. And you've already sort of programmed, like, you know, they sort of have categories of objects. Like, all the foods work the same way. Like, if there's an animal that's hungry, any food you come up with will work because they're all foods, right? It's not like a cake will make it sick and a steak will make it happy. You know, it's just any food is good.
This is, again, though, a situation. Remember with that panel we did, Losing Should Be Fun, where I talked a lot about procedural content generation?
Yep.
And how in the end, that will facilitate, like, this whole new era of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a Scribblenauts where the objects were very, very precisely defined with parameters that wouldn't necessarily matter, but the game kind of procedurally with a physics engine or something did everything.
Yeah, the thing is, it's just to really make the game be what I would like it to be, you'd really have to have someone actually program really specific and unique things for each object. You know, like you would have to, like, the objects would have to have a lot more complex behaviors specific to themselves. You know, like the sun, right? All the sun was programmed to do is show up in the background and make the sky bright. That's all it did. It didn't change any weathers. It did, you know, you'd have to program manually all these complex interactions between specific objects. And because the game doesn't have that, the game feels really unrewarding because I'm trying all these really clever things and none of them work. Only the brain dead things or completely nonsensical things work. So I feel like, you know, I'm trying to be smart and the game is just not rewarding me for it at all.
From a lot of people is that you can, and you said this too, you can basically just jetpack through most of the game.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing is I want to try, right? I want to use all sorts of different objects, right? And it's like I just can't. Anything I come up with either just is useless, right? And the few things that I've already come up with are useful. It's like, what's really useful? The rope, the grappling hook, the fishing rod, the jetpack, you know, a trampoline, the ladder, the crate. You know, there's just a few things. The iceberg is pretty useful that are really useful. Chains. And I can solve almost any problem with just those. And when I try to come up with other things, they never work. So I feel I don't even bother trying to come up with other things anymore. I just use the same things over and over.
See, now, if they'd made the game, imagine if they'd made the game where instead of, you know, what you're doing now, you had to solve the same puzzle like 8 times. And the way it worked was every time you used an object to solve it, you couldn't use that again, and you had to keep solving it new in different ways.
That would be good, but the puzzles are basically so like if you look online at some of the strategy guides, right? Which you assume that like there's actually a site. It's like Scribblenauts Guide, I think. And it's sort of a wiki site where people are like, typing in all the information, right? And it's like collaborative. And you look at some of the puzzles, and some of the puzzles, there's like maybe 4 solutions that people have posted, and they're all very, very similar. The puzzles are not such that there are so many different ways to solve them. It's like, yeah, you could solve it with a rope, or you could solve it with a chain, you could solve it with the fishing rod. It's like there aren't a lot of different things you can do. There's pretty much only one way.
The important question is, though, before I spoil the game and just read game facts, can you type Rick Astley?
I haven't tried it.
That would have made the game.
It says
for me.
like it says at the beginning of the game like no copyrighted things, et cetera, et cetera. So it's no vulgarity.
If I were them, I would have made a deal with Rick Astley.
I haven't tried Rick Astley, so I don't know. But
I know they didn't. They should have, but I know they didn't.
Yeah.
So back in actual gaming news, I just want to point out, everyone was super pissed off when they announced Left 4 Dead 2 so soon after Left 4 Dead, when they really should have just made it as a sequel, but as like not really a sequel, but as like continuing content. But they swore that Left 4 Dead would be continually supported for a while. And they've kind of proven that. There's another course, like another way of playing called Crash Course supposedly coming out.
Oh, really?
Actually, it's supposedly coming out tomorrow.
Oh, shit. I guess know what I'm doing tomorrow.
And they've made a bunch of updates. Now, they added a bunch of achievements, whatever. They made an obvious improvement that it's so obvious and yet is going to make the game so much more fun for the infected.
What is it?
And so much less fun for the non-infected in multiplayer.
Oh, what is it?
So, if you're infected, your HUD will not only show the recharge of your special attack, but the recharge of all of the other infected special attacks.
Oh, so obvious.
Duh, but I didn't think of that.
No, I didn't think of that either. That's, that reminds me, I was reading an article on Kotaku, I'll just say this real quick, where they were interviewing the Metroid Prime developers, and they had really, really fascinating stuff talking about how they got Metroid jumping in Metroid Prime to not suck ass.
I was reading that.
That was really fascinating.
Yeah, because I got to say, jumping in 3D games like that sucks ass.
Yeah, they're basically like, hey, you made this first-person shooter where jumping actually works. No one else had done that before. How did you do it? And they were like, well, we experimented with all these things and yada, yada, yada. And it was like, oh, wow, they're good. Real good.
Yep, for all the shitty games we play, it's always refreshing to see a game that does something well and then listen to the smart people say why it did so well.
Yeah, other people who make games, take heed.
Yep, but all that aside, Left 4 Dead is still great. I gotta play. I haven't played it as much as I should have.
I haven't played it in a long time, but you know what? I kind of like about Left 4 Dead is it's sort of like a lot of the FPSs I play, like a Counter-Strike or an NS, you don't really shoot a lot. That's why people like Siege mode because in NS, because you get to shoot a lot.
Yep, Siege mode is when I can go fade 100 times.
Right. Or, get an HMG and just hold the button down. So Left 4 Dead is that game where you get to freaking go doom, 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 doom with the shotgun. And I kind of like that. And sometimes you need that kind of FPS.
Plus, I still have such a game hard. I mean, what are the things that give me a hard on in gaming? Asymmetry and co-op.
There you go.
And this game is asymmetric co-op.
Left 4 Dead has both.
God. And I'm so excited about Left 4 Dead 2. Like I'm just gonna like.
Well, I'm gonna get the take. I'll pre-order.
Yeah,
preload on Steam.
Yeah, I think as Geeknights, we should probably have like a so-called release party.
Well, you don't even need. You know that as soon as the game comes out, everyone's gonna install it immediately, and that night you're gonna go on Steam, and the friends list is gonna be like completely full of people all playing Left 4 Dead 2 all the way down.
Yeah, but I only want to play with the good people.
That's all right.
I do have to give a tiny shout out because at PAX we did the Losing Should Be Fun panel.
Yep.
And I told that anecdote at the very end of the panel, tell my story, that like Left 4 Dead anecdote. And I totally just stole that directly from one of my coworkers that happened to him and not me, Anthony.
All right.
So I got to give him a shout out because I just 100%
Does he
stole
listen
that.
to the show?
Kinda, off and on. I'll know if he listens now because he'll say something at work.
Hey, dude, if you're listening, don't say anything. That way it's like, ha ha ha.
Yeah, or you could say something, and then I'll act like you didn't back here.
Oh, I just came up with like one more example from Scribblenauts of something that really bothered me.
All right.
There was a nasty wolf, and I needed to get around him, right?
Did you type Little Red Riding Hood and feed her to him?
No. I
Would
made
that work?
I made a steak. He ate it. And then I walked over to him, and he was still pissed off. So I gave myself, I was holding a steak and I walked over and I fed it to him and petted him. He's still pissed off and still ate me. It's like, come on, this doesn't make any sense.
Just keep giving him steak. Like
It
100 times.
It didn't matter. It's like you can give him a million steaks. It
So
won't
just
matter.
shoot him then.
That's what I did. And that's the thing is like the game, it's like it didn't want to shoot him. But the game was pretty much like, you pretty much had to shoot him. So I got my shotgun and I blew his brains out. It's like the game didn't give me another choice, really.
See, you know what I think needs to happen? I think it's very obvious.
I put a cage around him, but then I couldn't climb over the cage without making another object. And the idea is to solve it with as few objects as possible.
Someone should just make a complete knockoff Flash game. Just call it something else.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
just make it right.
we made Flash Portal. Why not Scribblenauts Portal?
How easy would it be, too? I mean, just make it a better game.
And crowdsource the objects.
Yeah.
Let people program the objects with all sorts of behaviors.
Oh, well, we'll see. But I do want to talk a little bit, too. There's other news. All the consoles, this console generation, like, it's weird how we get so used to the way gaming works. Like, when I was young, I remember there's the Atari, and the NES came out, and the SNES, and the N64, and the GameCube, and, like, there was this very specific chronology, and, like, everyone in the gaming world, like, you felt when the next set of consoles was coming before it was even announced or anything. And there was this, like, unspoken cycle.
Well, it's because all the gaming magazines would show all these, like, they'd be like, oh man, Ultra 64, and they'd show all this stuff that, like, barely even existed yet. Notice that's one thing is, like, back in the day, you would look in, like, the Game Pros or whatever, and you see all these, like, crazy previews of, like, consoles that, like, were, like, in development, like, a couple years in advance. You know?
And I remember looking at, like, Project Dolphin and being wowed by it.
Exactly what I'm talking about. But nowadays, everyone keeps all the cards wicked close to the chest until it's done, and then they show it to you.
Of course, back then, who was Nintendo competing against? No one?
No, but even that, Sony, you would see stuff, and, no one plays the cards, as far away from the chest as they used to.
I think there are a lot of reasons for that, but you got to admit, right around now is when I would expect in the old world to be seeing, like, the rumblings of the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox 980 or whatever.
Yeah, apparently, like I heard some talk from, big people in the industry, like, retailers and GameStop guys and whatever. And usually the way it would work is, like, if a new console was coming, they would tell, like, the GameStop people and such, like, 2 years in advance, So apparently they say they haven't heard anything yet, which tells me this console cycle is going to last.
I think
so
it is,
don't
too.
hesitate to buy, like, a slim PS3 or a 360 or a Wii if you want one.
The thing is, it's weird because I feel viscerally like buying an Xbox now would be a waste because the next one's going to come. But at the same time, it's not going to come. This console cycle, like, I think everything's changing now. And part of it's the what technology has changed? What's going to be better? Like, if they made the new Xbox now, what could it really do differently?
Yep.
It's not going to do anything different. And what's Nintendo going to do? They're going to wait. They don't care about making a next-gen console. The Wii is making money hand over fucking fist.
Yeah, and it's like they could just keep making accessories for the Wii. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, and Sony, that was supposed to be the 10-year console anyway. They can't make a new PlayStation.
No, they're not at all.
So we're not going to see consoles for a while, and now we're getting to that point. Look, we're getting all the price drops. The Wii, the Xbox, the PlayStation.
Yep, if you're thinking about getting some more consoles than you got, now's the time.
They're all dropping in price now, but in the past, that was like the last hurrah before the new consoles started appearing on the horizon.
Yep.
I don't think it is. I think this is just all of them jockeying to get even more market share and make more money now that their hardware is more commodity.
Yeah, and you know what? I think, my plan was I'm not, why should I get a 360? Because I don't have an HD TV, so what's the point? But now there's a deal going down. You can get an Elite 360, the best possible one, for only $250 with a $50 mail-in rebate. I'm just going to do it probably after the show.
The thing is,
I mean, come on.
The only reason I won't, because I don't have an HD TV yet, and if I get that house, I'm going to spend more money building the new Geeknights studio. I'm not going to have money to spend on, like, an Xbox just right away.
And it's like I've already got 2 wireless 360 controllers for my computer and an Xbox 360 wireless headset for my computer, and they work with the 360. So it's like I've already spent the money on the controllers. I'll just be enhancing stuff I've already got. And there's already like and mostly I just want to play like the arcade games. Like there aren't really that many 360 games.
There are those little things that the Xbox does really well. Like there's that Netflix on demand thing where you can watch Netflix and set up a chat with one of your friends and watch the same movie synced up.
That's all right.
Just weird little things like that. Plus, Adam's got his Xbox. He can play those co-op games.
That's all right. I'd rather play the local co-op type games than
the thing is, I'm sorry. Split screen is bullshit.
Well, you get 2 TVs.
Yeah, but one, are you gonna have 2 HD TVs in your house?
I got a monitor as HD.
So you can have someone's gonna play on your little monitor, and you're gonna play on the big HD TV.
You know, whatever. It's all right. It's like I want it for the arcade games and stuff. You know, I don't really actually see myself buying that many 360 games on disc, if any. Like, I'm not gonna buy any Halos. I'm not gonna buy any Gears of Wars. You know, what am I gonna buy?
I could buy a few games like that just to play them. I would definitely the Soul Calibur, the new Soul Calibur.
I wouldn't buy that.
Why not? It's the best fighting game in the world right now.
No, it's not.
Name a better fighting game.
I would actually rather have like the Street Fighter 4.
All right, name it.
Or the Tatsunoko vs. Capcom.
That's cool, but I don't think it's better.
That's my
not from a fighting game perspective.
I like Soul Calibur.
I mean, is there
2.
any?
I don't need a newer one.
I think you're just a curmudgeon here
No.
because it's on the GameCube. I mean,
The
3.
GameCube controller is much better for it anyway.
I agree on that point, and I agree that Soul Calibur 3 was not better than 2 in any way, but 4 is just better.
Whatever.
Whatever.
I'm mostly getting the arcade games that don't exist for the, because that's the other thing. It's like I played Braid recently on the PC, and I got stuff to say about that game later.
Yeah, I gotta play it enough to talk about it, but I think I know what I
got
have
it
to
because
say.
it was $5 on Steam.
I think I know what I have to say, but I gotta play through it to fully.
You can play through in my room if you want.
Yeah, I might just buy it.
It was
$5, whatever.
Well, I don't think it's $5 anymore. I got a Steam sale. We'll check it. And
We'll
see. trade.
trade because I got some Steam games you don't have. We can like log into each other's Steam accounts.
Oh, what do you got?
I got Half-Life Source.
That's the only Valve game I don't have.
Yeah, I just happened to buy the
It's
combination of
preloaded
packs.
because I have like mods for it that do work. Like like I think I have Day of Defeat Source or something. I don't even know.
But anyway, things of the day. So if you go to Kotaku, you've definitely already seen this, but I got to talk about it. There's a concept in Japan, the upending of the tea table, or the chabudai geishi. And that is you're pissed off, you flip over the little tea table and run away in anger. Run, you hit it and you flip it over.
It is known in the United States, especially in New York, as the Ukraine is weak.
The Ukraine. So Japan loves to make arcade games that are basically just one concept. Like, those Bimani games. In America, like DDR was big for a while, and then it wasn't popular anymore, and then there were all the knockoffs. And in Japan, they make so many of these like tactile games. Like that is the one area that an arcade will always win out over consoles, is having the very specific durable peripheral designed specifically for one game, and that's the only thing it's for.
Yeah, I mean, you go to the Japanese arcade, they got gun games. We have gun games, but they've also got like games where you use like a camera and you're taking pictures.
Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, they got games like you got collectible cards that you put down on a surface and then like you move them around.
They've also got all these weird games, like the poke the guy in the butt game.
Yeah, the bunga bunga, whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, this flipping over the tea
they got
table
mahjong games.
is possibly my favorite one of these. I mean,
so far that you've
there's
seen.
definitely a line. Like some of these games are just a novelty. Like you play it once, maybe you play it one more time to show to your friend, and that's it. And they only make money for the novelty. Like it's there, everyone plays it once, and that's it. Or people will walk in, they maybe play it, but then there are the actual games like DDR or Taiko Drum Master, where it is a game you can practice and get better at. This pissed off tea table game, you basically sit there and there are like other people on the screen sitting around the table, and you have this actual table. And as these people piss you off, you bang on the table at the right times, as though you're angry.
Yeah, it's a game about getting the high score. It's one of those kinds.
Yes, you bang on the table in different regard, and then when you're fed up, you flip the table over, and it actually flips over. There's a table, and you flip it.
The controller is this table. Like, it's a little table that's in front of you, and you bang on it, and then you flip it over, and
Now,
that's the game.
I gotta say, I watched the video of this dude playing it in Japan, and for one, there are a lot of these machines.
Well, they were at the Tokyo arcade game show.
But two, the guy playing it, he had the look of one of those kids who's really good at DDR, walking around the DDR machine. You know that look? Like they walk up, they kind of stand behind the machine like, all right, I'm going to go. They put their hand on their face like, all right, let's do this. Like they're psyching themselves up. And he stands there and he does a little finger thing like he's ready to go. and he's totally like timing it and like totally rocking out on this pissed off tea table game.
Yeah, no, that was at the I forget the name of it's basically the trade show for arcade games in Japan. So that's why you see so many of the machines there.
Yeah, the thing
The
is,
game center doesn't have that many machines.
but you look at the pictures of the game centers, I see the same thing, like a wall of one kind of game, then a wall of pachinko, then a wall of another kind of game.
I don't know. Like an arcade's probably gonna have one of those, not a whole wall of them.
They have a host club, a wedding party, an office, and a living room.
Oh man, the host club's got to be fun.
In the home stage, you
Get
bang
pissed
on the
off
table.
in the host club. You host.
Your family
You're no
members
good.
get more. They complain and get more and more annoying. So you bang on the table.
So Japanese.
I know. Good God.
So Japanese.
I want to play this game.
I mean, that's like, it's one thing to be stereotypically racist against some other, ethnicity or whatever, but
Japan is
against yourself? I mean, come on, Japan.
Japan has
Way to
this
stay
wonderful
classy.
felicity for making like self-referentially humorous games like this. I mean, look at this.
It's like, haha, look at Japanese people saying, haha. It's like if we were Americans, we'd be like, haha, look at fat, stupid American. Wait, that is us. The Japanese like, haha, look at sad salary man with angry family. Oh, wait, that is me.
So what do you got for me?
So, one thing that, people sort of have a hard time understanding with technologies, and yes, it's Tuesday, but you know what? Technology, Monday, people already know this kind of thing, and it is gaming related. Is exactly like, where the line is between software and hardware, right? It's like I type things in on the screen and somehow it makes metal chips talk with electricity. And it's like how the actual spot at where those two things meet is sort of very, very hard to conceptualize in your brain. Like, how does it work? Like, really? And like a lot of people just can't get their head around it. It took me a very long time to finally understand. That is one of the things that I paid a very large amount of money to learn in college and eventually did learn. But here, I have a video for you. It's very long, all right? It's from Google, and it is from NAND to Tetris in 12 steps. And this guy basically gives a big fancy lecture, and he explains to you how you get from NAND gates, which is like this very simple electronic component that is the basis of modern computing, all the way up to a game of Tetris and every step in between.
It is the most simple, not from the logical perspective, but from the actually making it out of electronics. It's the simplest one.
Yes. So, this is going to show you pretty much in a way that I hope you can understand if you watch it and pay attention. A lot of the things that I tried to teach people when we had those How Do Computers Work episodes, how do you get all the way from electrons going bzz, 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 right, all the way up to a game of Tetris, and what's going on, where is software, where is hardware, how do they talk, how does programs actually run on CPUs, instructions, assembly language, all those layers there. And so if you're interested in technology, or anything along these lines, this is a very, 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 very good thing that you should watch, even though it is considerably long. Long for an internet thing, but I mean, for a lecture, think about it. It's like sitting in one college lecture. Big deal.
I didn't really sit through many college lectures.
Oh, all right.
So it is time for that new bit we've added, the Meta Minute.
Meta Minute. Okay, Meta Minute.
Meta Moment.
Meta Moment number
Meta
one.
Musel.
This weekend. What's this weekend's dates?
The 20... I don't have it ready.
Okay. Anyway.
I don't know what days there are.
This
the 25th,
weekend,
26th, and 27th.
New York Anime Festival 2009.
Yes, the 25th and 26th, Friday and Saturday. We will be there both nights doing anime everyone should see, cover your bases, and know your creators, do anime panels.
There's also Yoshiyuki Tomino, the director of Gundam, creator of Gundam, period. Like, Gundam, period. He made it. That guy is going to be there.
Wouldn't that be just Motor? Okay, sorry. Never mind.
Right. He has a keynote on Friday that's at 5-ish. I'm going to try to see that, and I think he's got a Q&A Saturday. I didn't look at the whole schedule very carefully, but I saw that at least. So I would recommend trying to hit those events up. Also, we'll probably be spending some time there on Saturday, besides our panel, to hang out, meet people, whatever.
Yep, so post in the forum or tweet or whatever. Just let us know you'll be there. And
yeah, if you're at the place, come to our panels or look for us walking around. Look for pictures of us on the internet.
But yes, 7:30 on
At
Fridays.
us.
Friday 7:30, panel 3, and Saturday 7:45, panel 3.
There you go. Ooh, panel 3 both times.
We're not going to be there Sunday. We can't say yet, but we might be doing something really, really cool. And
I have a lot of shit to do. I haven't had a free week. Think about it. PAX. What was the weekend after PAX?
game weekend.
I had family shit.
Oh yeah, you had family shit.
I had family shit.
And everyone else was sick with the swine flu.
Everyone else was sick with swine flu. The weekend after that, it was a game weekend.
And we had like picnics and everything, and you had to go home for Rosh Hashanah.
And I went to, and it was Rosh Hashanah, right? This weekend, New York Anime Festival. I have not had a fucking free weekend, and I'm not gonna have one for like fuck ever. There's like weddings coming up, and God.
But seriously,
I need a weekend at home to do nothing. Get away from me.
We might be doing something really cool on Sunday, and if it happens, we'll tell you all about it, and there'll be video.
Yep, but if it doesn't happen,
We'll never speak of this again.
well, just pretend it. We don't want to speak about something that doesn't happen.
Yep.
That would be shit talking.
And, going forward, just kind of a long-term meta bid. As you know, the New York Comic-Con, New York Anime Festival, we talked about this on the last Wednesday show, are combined in 2010, the next, set of this. And the New York Comic-Con's been really expanding its gaming content. So we can't tell you what we'll be doing yet, but there's going to be a lot of gaming stuff at the New York Comic-Con, and we will probably be a big part of it.
Oh, and the ad contest, I guess no one's really entered the ad contest, even though, since I've been mentioning on the show, so I think it's pretty much over with. If I don't get any applications by the end of the week, then I will announce the winner on next week's Wednesday show. Right? Yeah, it's Tuesday, so it's this week's Tuesday, Thursday.
Either way.
Yeah, so next week's Wednesday show, I will announce the winner of the ad contest. So you have until, I guess, next Tuesday to send in a submission, and just go to the website and you will see all about that in the forum. There's a thread about it in the news section on our website. There's talk about it. It's all good.
And also, PAX East is coming up next March, right around the same time as Anime Boston.
All right, let's stick with the nearby conventions. The
I'm just
Meta
pointing
Minute,
them out.
not the Meta, Millennium.
Not the Metamucil.
Meta Millennium. All right. So,
at PAX, the most recent PAX,
well, I think the story actually begins before that.
so you want to begin at the very beginning.
Yes.
So-
back when I was, a kid, I played Magic the Gathering, right? In middle school mostly. And I realized, man, this is stupid. It's all this collectible crap. I hate it. And I sort of got over the collectible crap in college once and for all, thanks to that MechWarrior miniature crap, right? Which is a big mistake. And I realized, yeah, collectible games are crap. But the thing is, Magic the Gathering, money to wasting, if it were not collectible, could be a pretty good game. But the thing is, all the games like that were collectible. And I said, man, wouldn't it be cool if there was some sort of customizable card game that was not collectible? And I waited for this game to come along. More recently, someone said, hey, the game has come along. It's called Dominion. And I said, oh, wow, it's come along. And then I saw on Board Game Geek, this game Dominion just rose through the charts. And I'm like, oh, look at that. I'll have to get my hands on some of that.
Yep, so we had the opportunity to, we're at a con.
We're at Anime Boston.
Yep, we grab it, and we're like, let's learn how to play it. So we read through the rules, and we're looking at this deck. And Scott, he finished reading the rules. He's like, this looks kind of shitty. So I'm like, all right. So I read through the rules.
It's like, we were in Anime Boston. We didn't have a lot of time to really sit and be quiet and careful and really try it, So I sort of read the rules, and they were kind of bleh. And I was like, I don't know if this is a good game. I don't, is this one of those, mistakes? Like everyone loves Ra, but it's like way up on Board Game Geek, but we know it's just the Egyptian slot machine.
Yep. Or Twilight Struggle, which is a pretty good game, but it takes so much investment, it's almost not worth it. And Battlelore, which is just shit. I'm sorry, that game is terrible.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that are way high in Board Game Geek that are not good. Just but
Granted,
they're popular.
The Board Game Geek top 10 is still mostly rock solid.
So I didn't pass final judgment on Dominion, but I wasn't gonna play it. Like rush out to play it. I sort of was like lukewarm on it. I wasn't in a rush to check it out anymore because I read the rules.
Oh wow! Someone calculated that with the current set of Dominion out there, it is impossible for any human to ever play every possible combination.
Sweet. We'll explain that in a little bit. So
yes, but we basically going through this game, we decided it looked like a crappy game, and we just didn't even. We were like, all right, forget this. We just forgot about it.
So PAX, West.
Everyone's playing it.
Everyone is playing Dominion. Even Gabe mentioned Dominion. You would walk around looking at board gaming, and just Dominion was by far. It was like Dominion and Agricola, I think, were the most played games.
Like walking out of the gaming area, and then around and upstairs to the room to do our last panel, I saw 5 separate games of this game going on at the same time.
Another very popular game was that sushi game, but I think there were only a couple sets of it, but I think they were in constant use.
Yeah, Jared was really, like, we were both looking at that, and we didn't have time to play it, but we were
I'll
interested.
have to look that up on Board Game Geek after the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Dominion is being played like crazy, and our awesome friend Ro, well, she got the Dominion set, and they knew how to play, so that's perfect. You know, nothing better than being at a convention and someone else showing you how to play, so you don't have to, read the instructions and waste precious convention time. So she showed us how to play, and we were like, oh, we were wrong. This game is the shit. And you know what? The game is the shit. That's pretty much all there is to it. End of the show.
It's basically, it's cool because what it is it's a drafting kind of game where, like, you'll construct a deck and play with the deck, but instead of making your deck ahead of time or following some, like, rule for making your deck, the deck is made in the course of playing, and you're making the deck every round with your actions. Like, you play your money and you get your stuff and you put them in your discard deck and you keep reshuffling. So it's not just making the optimal deck, it's making the optimal deck as you go, because the final optimal deck, you might not be able to make that deck, because to get to that final optimal state along the way, you'll have every suboptimal deck.
Yeah, it's like in the beginning of the game, you have, $7 and 3 points, right? Points don't do anything, but you want points in your deck because that's how you win. That's the only thing that matters, is getting point cards in your deck, but they don't do anything. So if you just fill your deck with point cards, basically, like, let's say you do nothing but buy point cards, right? Okay, so you can't really afford very expensive ones because you only draw 5 cards at a time. So the best case scenario, you draw $5, you get a duchy, right? So now you've got $4 points and $7. Then you got 5 points and $7. Then, right? Eventually, you're going to just be drawing a fistful of useless points. Meanwhile, someone else who didn't buy points right away is getting lots of money and other stuff. And then later in the game, when they have tons of money, they buy even more points in fewer cards. They buy, like, the 6-point cards. That is just one card worth 6 points. You see how it's all about the proportions of things in your deck? Like, when you make a Magic the Gathering deck, it's like, how many land do I put in and how many other cards do I put in, right? What's the proportion that you got to have so that you won't, draw no land right away, and you'll draw enough land as you're going that you'll always have some. It's that kind of thinking, only throughout the course of a game. Early in the game, you got to get more monies, and then you got to build up a machine of cards that work together in a combo, and you keep reshuffling your deck and drawing the same cards over and over again as the proportions change, and you make your deck more efficient, and then you fill it up with point cards, and then the game's over.
Well, let's go with all the novel mechanics. I mean, one, there's this whole, victory points. The only way to win is with them, but as you pull them into your deck, you're, like, diluting your deck.
Yep.
So it's a very subtle and nice catch-up mechanism. But at the same time, you have almost the St. Petersburg situation where it's a game of whoever switches from money action to victory point first wins, unless they switch too soon, in which case they lose.
Yep.
And you've got this mechanic where every round you draw 5 cards, and you might draw more or do other stuff in the course of your turn. But no matter what, at the end of every turn, you've discarded everything and you draw 5 new cards. That is huge. I mean, every card game like this, from San Juan, Magic, and everything, you're always in the situation where you draw a card, you can't play right away, you want it, so you hold onto it in your hand. Or you're in the situation where you have 2 cards in your hand and you want to play one, but you want to save one, and you're always in the situations where, like, there are cool things you could do, but you're held back and you never feel like you really bust out with your whole hand.
Yeah, this is like, it's not so much on your turn about, like, deciding what to do with your hand, right? There's very rarely is it actually a difficult decision of what to do with your hand. You generally just lay out all your cards and you do the maximum you can do with those 5 cards. And the real decision is, what do you buy with the money that you have? And if you somehow, in the rare occasion where you can't play all your action cards, which ones do you play? And then you throw everything out and draw 5 more cards. So, there's a little bit less decision-making going on there, but the decision of what to buy is ludicrously important, as you will figure out if you play the game. So the other thing about this game, right, is that you buy first of all, I want to say, Dominion won the Spiel des Jahres, which is like guaranteed awesome game.
Yep, so just buy it.
Duh, right? So currently there are 2 sets, Dominion and Dominion Intrigue. And they're both full sets, which means you don't need the other set to play, right? You can play just Dominion Intrigue or just Dominion. But you can also mix them together because it's the same game, just different cards, right? Whatever. You can mix them up. They're coming out with Dominion Seaside, I think they're calling it. Seaport? I don't know.
I have this feeling they're going to be like tons and tons of expansions forever for this game.
Yeah, that's fine. But with the Dominion Seaside, you're going to need to either have Dominion or Dominion Intrigue to play with the Seaside one. But anyway, that's not out yet. The way it works is there's some cards that you use in every game. You always use the money and the victory cards, and you always use the curses, even though they might not come into play. But the rest of the cards, right, you pick 10, and that's what you play with, right? There's a lot more than 10 types of cards in the Dominion box. So every time you play, the game is different. You know, you're picking 10 different cards to play with every time. Imagine if, like, you decided to play Magic the Gathering and, you know, you pick 10 Magic cards, you know, say, I don't know, 10 different creatures, and that was all you played with that whole game, and, you know, and that was it. No other cards came into it. That's what it's like. And every time you play Dominion, you pick 10 different ones. And if you mix together the Intrigue and the Dominion, there are so many different possible 10-card combinations.
Someone calculated on Board Game Geek, it is impossible for any human in their entire life to spend the entire life playing multiple simultaneous games of Dominion to play every possible combination.
And they're coming out with more cards, so that exponentially increases the possible combinations that you could play.
Now,
So
the cool thing is,
the replay
it's a
value is
simple-
insane.
It's also, since it's simple, you know, these 10 cards, you lay them out from the boxes. If you find a really good set, it's kind of like a free cell. You can say, like, oh, play with these 10 and get all your friends to play the same set again.
In the instruction book, it says, you know, if it's your first time playing, play with these 10 cards, you know? And it's actually a pretty good suggestion. And they also have, like, themed sets.
A lot of people are naming their sets like the Demustulator or the Demolisher or the Destructor.
Yeah, it's like, play with these 10. Like, and the thing is, depending on which 10 cards you get, the game can be drastically different. For example, we played a game at PAX where there are all sorts of nasty curse cards, like the Witch.
Oh my god, the Witch basically proves to anyone in the world that everyone in the world is an asshole and given half a chance would destroy the world.
Right. So
The
what
Witch gives-
happened in that game, right, is everyone had really, really low scores and tons of curses. My final score was -1.
And the game took forever, and everyone rushed the Witch, of course. In
Yep.
fact, we ran out of curses, like, right
Yep.
away.
The game, right? But another game we played, like we played a game with the beginner set, and basically everyone got a ton of points and a ton of cards, and the game was relatively quick. And, you know, the game was completely different with 10 different cards. We just played a game just now before the show, right? Where basically, you know, it was there weren't any cards out that were worth $5. There were only cards that most of the cards were worth $4. And the only things that were worth $6 were the gold and the adventurer. So it was like I kept getting $5, and then we bought all the duchies, which were $5. And basically, you know, the game just dragged out and out and out and out, and I wasn't able to keep up, and I didn't get enough victory point
Well,
cards.
one problem I've noticed, the game is good. It's not great in that it's no Puerto Rico or TNE.
No, it's not a Puerto Rico or a TNE. Not
you know,
at all.
A lot of people on Board Game Geek are talking about all these really like intense strategies, and people like arguing about the different strategies for different loadouts. But I've found that pretty much there's only one real strategy, and you only deviate from this if you very specifically must. Build a machine probabilistically that will generate money, $8 a round to buy provinces. Buy provinces to run out the deck. Only deviate if someone else is going to buy more provinces than you.
Yep. And
That's the whole game. That's the whole strategy, and it works perfectly. And I've never found any evidence that anything else is a good idea.
I think there might be a better idea if, you know, somehow you find some way to generate like more points, you know, and maybe in a future set, right, there will be better cards than the province.
Well, no, it depends more on what sets are out there. Like, the real decisions you're making are, when do you buy militia versus some other attack card? Do you even bother with attack cards?
Yep.
Like, do you bother with militia in a many-player game when other people might be militiaing everyone? What do you care?
Yep. It's that kind of thing.
It's a good game, though. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, don't think it's kind of like Agricola. The game of Agricola is not optimizing your farm. That's the obvious trivial problem. Anyone with half a brain, like if you're good at the game, your farm is perfectly optimal 100%. You know exactly what to do. In Dominion, if you even have half a brain and you're good at board games, you'll know exactly what to do with every hand. You won't even think about it. The whole game is figuring out what to do with all the ancillary actions on your way to the provinces to prevent other people from getting the provinces. Just like in Agricola, all you're really trying to do is prevent other people from getting the resources they need to get more people in their family.
Yep. But yeah, what's really
Novice
great...
players won't see that,
Yeah.
so if you see that, you'll beat them.
There's a lot of... I could give a lot of Dominion strategies. Maybe we will. But the thing that's really great about Dominion is, okay, it's not as great as a T&E or a Puerto Rico, you know, from a game perspective. You know, it's not some masterpiece. It's just really great. So why play it? Well, the reason is, number one, it's really fast. You can just whip it out and play it, and the setup is pretty easy. And if you've set it up already, you can play a whole bunch of games with, you know, very quickly, you know, because you won't have to reset up a lot of the games. You just pick 10 new cards, and you're good to go. And it's just shuffle, draw, go. It's so quick. You know, other games like have a lot of setup, lots of pieces, right? It's just cards. They're well organized in the box. You can just whip them out and play.
Actually, the cool thing about it is that, especially if you're playing with, you know, a bunch of really skilled gamers, one, I'd recommend learning how to shuffle cards. And you might laugh, it's not easy. As many people who played with us
I didn't even think about it because I've been shuffling cards since I was young. But there's like multiple people that we've played with, you know, because I don't want any of them to feel bad because we played with a lot of people. They just can't shuffle cards,
which is understandable. It's not an easy skill, and you have to learn it. It's not intuitive.
Yeah, I only know it because it's like I sort of take it for granted, but I only can do it really well because I've been doing it since I was 3. Most people go to like, you know, card dealing school to become like casino dealers, you know, to learn it later in life if they don't know it already.
Yeah, but that aside, like if you've got a bunch of people who are like dexterous with their hands and with cards, they're used to playing card games. There's such a visceral and active feeling playing the game because you draw 5 cards, you throw them all down, you do all this stuff, you grab them all, you discard everything, you throw it back out on the table.
I can literally take my turn in like 2 seconds. If 4 Scott Rubens were playing Dominion, it'd be like turn, 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 turn. You know, it'd be like it'd be insane.
But it makes this vibe where you're all like every round you're constantly picking up cards, throwing cards down, tossing cards around. It's a really lively game, but yet as a result, it's a very like social game, much more so than many other games we play.
Yep. It's also.
I mean, I'm not socializing when we're playing T&E on my turn. I'm going.
Yeah. It's also a game that works really well with 2, 3, 4 players, and if you have 2 sets, you know, if you have Dominion and Dominion Intrigue, I think you can play with 5 or 6 players.
I want to make the Dominion Tank Police expansion.
Yeah, I know. Right? That's the joke that we always make. Let's play Tank Police. All right. Tank Police. Now, the one thing is I think the cards that are in the regular Dominion set are just a lot better than the ones in the Intrigue set.
I agree.
The Intrigue set is more sort of like these slightly weird cards. They're a lot more dickish. You know, they do a lot more funky, weird stuff and a lot less of the simple and straightforward stuff. And, you know, that stuff can be cool, but it's like too much of it. It just sort of makes the game a little finicky and flaky. You know, but, you know, Intrigue's still good. It's good to have more Dominion. If you just had just the Dominion set, it eventually would get kind of stale, and you need the Intrigue set to spice it up. And I think that's why I'm going to get the Seaside set to spice it up even more. Thing is, if you haven't played it at all yet, I would recommend just getting the plain old Dominion and starting with that. And don't get the Intrigue set till you're bored with the regular one.
But just actually learn the game. Don't just read the rules and go, actually, play it. If possible, get someone to teach you how to play it who knows how to play already.
Yeah,
that'll make it go so much faster.
Yep.
There are some minor gripes, though. One, copper, silver, and gold are all the same color.
Yeah, that's annoying.
That bothers a lot of people.
Another thing that bothers me is you look at like a copper, right? And it has the number, a copper is worth $1, right? But it costs $0. At the top, it has 2 1s in the corners and a big 1 in the middle and a 0 in the bottom left. And it's sort of like, you could have made it look a little different, maybe. So I keep looking. I'm like, oh, this costs 1. Oh, no, wait, no, it doesn't. It costs 0, Some of the other problems I have is basically the $7 problem, which I'm pretty sure is intentional. But basically, nothing is worth $7 in the game.
Well, the way to get around that is to get a buy action and then buy like a 5 and a 2.
That's true. but sometimes there is no way to get a buy. I mean, the game we just played, there were no extra buys whatsoever.
Well, it depends on what kind of game you're playing. I mean, every combination is different, and you have to. Every different combination will have these ruts where, like, that amount of money is a suboptimal amount of money to have in your hand.
I know. It's like, if everything on the table is either $4, $6, or $8, and you draw $5, it's like, I wasted a whole dollar. There's nothing I can do with it. I drew $7. Fuck, if I only had one more, I could get the $8 card. Much better. It's like eternally frustrating. You just keep drawing $7 every turn, and all you want is $8 so you can get the profits.
One
That's all you
problem with the
want.
game is that having it in the boxes kind of sucks, but there aren't really a lot of good ways to handle this game because you need to keep all the sets separate and easy to get to.
I think
Like
what I'm
every
going to do
little
is
set.
I'm going to get, the long boxes that like baseball card guys put cards in, the kind I have under my bed from when I was a kid. And I'm just going to put little pieces of paper between.
Don't use pieces of paper. Use actual like cardboard dividers with the tab at the top.
We can use whatever, but the point is I'll just put them all in the box in one row, so it takes up a lot less space than the gigantic Dominion box. But then I'll put little dividers in of some kind.
What
so
I
they're
really don't
separate.
get though is a lot of people are buying sleeves for every one of these individual cards because they're worried about the game like wearing out. Seriously, for the pain in the ass that is and the cost, just buy the game again like 5 years from now.
Yeah, I know, right? The other thing is that, what does that really protect you from? It protects you from maybe a spill, right? If someone spills something all
here's
over
the
your
worry.
game.
Here's one worry that
The
I
thing
see.
is, right,
Scott,
no one spilled anything over any other board games we
Scott, no,
have.
the worry is that, all right, as more expansions come out, the expansion cards will be obviously expansion cards because they'll be less worn, less tattered, less frayed. They'll be newer looking in the deck.
That's possible.
That's going to happen, but I don't feel like it's worth it. I mean, my Magic cards, you could tell my beta cards from my unlimited cards from my revised cards.
That's true.
And we just dealt with it. People didn't spend that much effort trying to figure out what was coming up in people's decks. I would, but I don't think anyone else will.
No. I mean,
Plus, seriously, sleeves are a pain in the ass. How are you going to shuffle?
Yeah, shuffling is a huge pain in the ass when your cards are covered with like a piece of plastic. It's a lot harder to store the cards. You can't store them in the regular old Dominion
Oh, there's
box.
a whole thread on Board Game Geek where they pointed out that if you sleeve them, they will not fit back in the box.
Right, so it's like you got to find a kind of box that can hold sleeved cards. And the thing is, sleeves were designed for games like Magic the Gathering, and remember like the Penny Arcade game came with those little plastic boxes? That's the kind of little, it's a box designed to hold like one deck of like 60 cards, for a game of Magic. That's the kind of box you can get that will hold sleeved cards. Good luck finding a box that'll hold 1,000 sleeved Dominion cards.
One thing I'm amazed about, a lot of people are pointing out how they periodically replace the sleeves on their cardy games because they get so greasy and sticky. What kind of gamers are these? Seriously.
Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Jesus Christ.
There's no grease on our Puerto Rico set.
Yeah, I know. It's like, do I put plastic sleeves over like any other board game? I mean,
Dude, Scott,
Agricola has a bunch of cards in it. You don't see me
Scott,
sleeving those.
People are suggesting the same sleeves that they're all using for their Agricola sets. Yeah.
Wow.
We need to take a picture. We got to put sleeves on all those little brown men in Puerto Rico.
I mean, it's like I
and
put
then take a picture of that.
Yeah, it's like I put sleeves on my comic books, right? But that's not because, I'm like afraid of like anyone damaging them with a spill or something. It's because, have you seen a comic book, from like 30 years ago? It's like unreadable. It turns yellow and it turns into dust. So, and the thing is, if I'm not going to read a comic book ever again, I just get rid of it. And if I'm going to keep it, it's because I want to read it like for the rest of my life, maybe. I don't really expect my Dominion set to last the rest of my life. It's not really necessary. It's like it'll still be playable. I mean, my Magic cards are already from middle school and they're still just fine. They're the same exact as they were and they're not in any sleeves. Completely unnecessary.
Well, no, my Magic cards are all definitely worn out, the ones that I used a lot, and they obviously stand out as being worn out. They're not greasy.
They're slightly worn, but they're not.
No, they're worn enough to where it's obvious what set they're from. Like, it is kind of a problem.
I don't notice that.
And in fact,
problem.
I had a couple of tournaments. I had to replace cards because they were worn enough to where the person I was playing against complained. And as a result, I had to remove those cards from my deck or use proxy cards.
BS.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Of course, I also used to cheat. I would I'd put them in sleeves, but I'd lick the sleeves of cards that comboed well together so they'd stick when I shuffled because you can't shuffle sleeves.
Yeah. That's another thing is that I think that sleeves actually can enable some forms of cheating because you can like put things in the sleeves besides the cards. you know, and
What,
and
like, we're playing Dominion? I'm like, blackjack, Yahtzee. What am I going to do?
you could put like a secret message and then pass it or something like that.
What? How's that going to help me? It's not euchre.
I didn't mean in Dominion specifically. I meant in general.
What, in Magic? I tell my opponent, I'm going to beat you now. Ha!
Maybe in multiplayer Magic.
But in multiplayer Magic, the goals are obvious. You
Yeah.
just want to beat the two, opposite-colored people across from you.
The point is that I don't like sleeves.
I don't like sleeves either, but not for that reason.
It's an okay reason.
There are better ways to cheat than secret messages.
Secret messages are the ultimate cheating method.
Dominion's great, seriously, if you're a gamer at all. And also, if you're not super...
It's also the new hotness. Get it while it's still hot and people are playing it.
If you're not super into board games, I'd recommend Dominion as not necessarily a starter game, but one of the early games you buy after you get into board games.
Yeah, it's definitely like, it's like you get your Settlers and your Carcassonne. Like Dominion is next on the list after that.
It's also a great game if you're into games to get non-gamers in, because you can teach them how to play pretty quickly, and the game is so quick that you're not going to have people balking about sitting there for 4 hours.
Yeah, it's also great, if you've got like a Magic the Gathering Pokemon card game type of person, and you want to bring them over to the German board games, like this is the transfer game, Have them play Dominion, then the Settlers, if they're that kind of person. All right, I think that's about it.
That's about it. Now I want to go to bed. So.
Yep, let's go to bed.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.